Welcome. Please take a seat. Let's get straight to the problem, the main root issue of this interview, and the largest obstacle that we are going to have to somehow overcome. I've been informed that you are unable to speak, and that means as in completely incapable of speech at all. You can hear just fine, so we do not need an interpreter of any kind, but you are physically unable to make any noise. Now, did you want to use any kind of sign language, American Sign Language, British Sign Language to communicate to us? We do have an interpreter on standby if needed. I see. So you are saying you would prefer just to write everything down instead. All right, understandable. Now, when you say you can't make any noise at all, do you mean that as in verbal? I see, okay. Well, I'm glad you can nod and shake your head, so at least we have yes and no answers taken care of. So you mean no noise entirely? I see. That is peculiar. Right, you can clap your hands in that there's no noise at all. That's a very impressive trick. So when you walk, your footsteps, they make no noise? Does this also apply to machines or machinery or operating? Fascinating. Does this apply to weaponry as well? Just to make sure, can you hear noise that you make, or is it just no? So if I understand correctly, based on the pantomime motions that you're doing, you just make no noise at all, no matter what you do. All right. Interesting. So, let me just have a few minutes and I will set the expectations of this interview. This is the first interview. There will be more if you pass our criteria. This interview is being recorded, and I will also be typing extensive notes regarding this interview, pretty much typing out what you've already written on these disposable, cheap post-it notes. Sticky notes. Okay, fine. Do not be alarmed if I'm typing extensive or even excessive notes. It is all part of normal procedure. We will ask primarily personality and behavioral based questions and then end with some of the yes or no. And if things are going well, we will end with some of our deal breakers for this position. Most likely, though, the deal breakers would be in a second interview, so don't be concerned if we don't have time to get to those today. No, you cannot have a job description at this time. We are a secret organization. The job postings aren't publicly recorded or printed, but if you do well in this interview, we will provide you with an encrypted temporary job file that you would delete itself, along with other files on the electronic device that it was sent to, when not accessed with the appropriate password and key code, of course. Due to your condition, and of course we will need to talk about that condition, some accommodations will be made for the job description due to the fact that you will be unable to signal and communicate with most of your teammates for this in-field position. I think the most important question to ask right away is, how did you develop this condition and how does it work? Interesting. So are you saying that this is not a physical condition as much as it is a magical or mystical condition? Interesting. So there is some metaphysical array around you preventing sound from emanating because of what you do. So, to summarize, that means that even if you're push the button to send a signal, the signal itself would stop causing sound. So no sound would occur if you were using Morse code or a telegram system. So if you push the button that causes the sound, no sound will appear. What if you push the button to push play on a previously recorded? Interesting. Can you elaborate on that? I don't think sorry, this doesn't quite explain. It seems like you're repeating the same information I gave you. If you do something that makes noise, no noise will occur, despite logically noise should occur. So if you can you give me another example? Right, okay. So what you're saying is if you knock over a book, the book falls. The book makes no noise because you pushed it over. So if you accidentally knocked over a glass and the glass shatters, no sound of that glass shattering would occur because you knocked it over. Even if you accidentally knocked it over. That is so just for a second then, do you mind typing on this keyboard? Let me hand this to you. Yes, it is plugged in. There we go. I see. You're typing on the keyboard right away and no sound is occurring. Interesting. Yeah, I see the keys go down. Fascinating. It seems like nothing on the keyboard is being typed here as well. So you're... That is amazing. Thank you for that demonstration of your capabilities. So in that case, am I correct in assuming that it requires as low technology communication as possible? So even then no sound occurs as a causal effect from you. It means pretty much handwritten notes is the best communication possible regarding what you do. Thank you. Interesting. Right, no. We have a place for that here. I think it is more important we get to why this happens to you. What, you don't want to write down? What did... You have no idea. No idea why this happens to you. Interesting. Can you elaborate? Tell me more. I mean, of course, please write down more information about when you first experienced this, or... I don't know what you're... Okay, so let me ask the question again. To reiterate, and please correct me if I'm wrong at all, what you're saying is that you were born able to make noise, but at the age of 8, slowly but steadily, you began making less noise, starting primarily vocally, until you lost your voice completely by the age of 12. And then, sorry, I forgot what you wrote down. And afterwards became incapable of making sounds with your body entirely by the time you were 17. Is that correct? All right. Then what happened? So you went to multiple doctors trying to figure out the cause, and eventually you got put into a program for experimentation where you were deemed a danger to others because of the possibility that this is contagious. Wait, is this actually contagious? Well, that is definitely something that I need to note down and record for anyone that gets into contact with you. This is a contagious element, especially being a magical, mystical one that does not follow the applicable laws of physics as we know it. Then we definitely need to be careful with who is in close proximity to you. So this is contagious, but only after long-term exposure. So the sound dampening will occur, and eventually all sound will dampen, disappear, and be imperceptible the longer the source of that sound is around you. Am I correct? Okay, so only living things. Because mechanical things that make sound, if you turn them on, they won't make sound. So you turning on a radio, but if you walk to a radio that's playing music, the music isn't just going to suddenly soften and disappear unless you push the play button. Fascinating. And so this affects living creatures. And you have a story here about your what? So you wrote here that your dog has also become completely silent after living with you for only 3 years. Fascinating. And you mentioned multiple doctors trying to figure out what happened. Can you explain more and elaborate on that? So it says here that you wrote down the scientists weren't able to find anything out or come up with a possible explanation. And to answer your question, no, I don't know. Right. The access to the information about your illness is above my clearance level, which is why I asked other individuals here have access to those files and said you would be a prime candidate for the in-field agent position because of the results. I, however, do not have access to those results and thus have no information about the actual diagnosis of your condition. Right, yes. We would be able to take the proper precautions for your safety as well as the safety of others. Right. Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you. This explains why you don't have a resume. In addition to the fact that you're unable to utilize a computer, you have no education and work experience that is not sealed behind restricted access due to it all being in the process and full supervision of a high security experimentation scientific lab. I see, so we have a lot of laws and legalization and bureaucracy and restricted information for us to bypass. But I need you to confirm that you're not being... Okay, thank you. So this confirms that you're not being forced to interview for this position. That's good. This doesn't answer, though. Why do you actually want to work here as in a field agent position? I thought that might be the case, as I feared. Okay. Just making note of that. So what are your, with this being the case, your career aspirations, or any aspirations, as it were? Well, that's sad. If you could work for any company, what would it be? I'm documenting the last thing you wrote while you're writing that down. You do realize that... Is this a joke answer? It is, okay. Here we do not have a great sense of humor to be noted of, so joke answers are frowned upon generally. Do you have any problems with shift work, especially odd shifts, graveyard shifts, changes to shift schedule, being on call, or working overtime? Thank you. All the time in the world. Great answer. What are you passionate about? That's a very ironic answer. Music. What is something that you obsess over, or something that you care about doing and being and want to research and learn more about? I fear this might be the case. Look, we might need to rehabilitate you into finding some kind of hobby, because at this point it seems like you may be a cloned experiment. I understand your shock and surprise, but listen, if you are not the first cloned individual we have interviewed, and we can actually rehabilitate you. No, clones are a real thing. Well, it seems like you have this manifestation, this modification to you, and either you are a cursed individual from a lineage, so something that your family has done has caused a magical element to be in place, or you are a specifically bred individual to have a mystical type of power. I'm unaware of what it is. As I mentioned, the information for this would be restricted. But look, we can rehabilitate you. This is not the first time we have encountered a being or individual such as yourself with a paranormal ability that no, rehabilitation would not. There is no way to reverse the silent aura around you. In fact, that it stretches beyond our understanding in a metaphysical way is the only possibility that you are not an experiment and rather cursed with some kind of magical application. So yes, if you're a clone experiment, we could rehabilitate you and give you some more social skills or workarounds, but we in no way can stop this silent ability that you have. No, what you possess here is something that we will not change, whether it's from a made element or a magical element, whether it was random or purposeful, or you're destined to always be the silent one. I don't know. But what I can say is we can rehabilitate you. We can't fix the root issue. Yes, magic definitely exists. I have seen enough things to tell you that magic is absolutely a real thing. But whether it is a magical or scientific condition that you possess, probably mystical, but it might be a scientific engineered application. I don't know. We do have a file that I am unable to access. What I can tell you though is reversing it, probably just maybe, let me just say it's impossible. But making you able to live a real life beyond the supervision of scientists and without being poked and prodded and studied and supervised, that's possible. To be able to socialize in a real world environment, we can make that happen. That is what we can provide here in exchange for your services here working for us. Right, room, board, food, essentials with some limited luxuries, certainly. All that would be provided and more. Now, back to my original question. If you could do anything at all, what would it be? Is this your sincere answer? It could be problematic, but we'll see what we could do. How do you handle short-term and long-term stress? What is your favorite year you have been alive? If you could rename any of the months of the year, which one and what would you rename it? Interesting. What is something that you always forget exists? Huh. Yeah, I can imagine if you were unable to make sound, you would forget that that's something that makes sound normally. Interesting. What is under your bed? Why do you have this under your bed? You're not going to write that down? Fine then. Keep your secrets. What is your phone number backwards? That made perfect sense. And in hindsight, I apologize. It was a nonsensical question for me to ask in the first place. There is no reason for you to have a phone, seeing as you are incapable of using any form of technology for communication purposes. My apologies. Do you have any allergies? Any allergies at all? Interesting. I don't think that should be a concern, but we will definitely make a note of that. What is your favorite oxymoron? Excuse me. Deafening silence. I can understand that that must be hard to live with. Have you ever thought about or wished that you would fall asleep and not wake up? That's good. Can you keep a secret? That is another of our standard questions that I guess doesn't really apply to you. Have you lied in this interview? Understand. How would you define success? I mean, this is a perfect answer. There's no reason to comment on that. Do you have any questions for me? No, that is not essential for this position. As you explained and demonstrated earlier with the keyboard, using electronic devices will not work for you, so we will go either with mystical or low-tech devices entirely for your use in this position. We do have a warehouse of old objects that are obsolete for most purposes and are rather dangerous for most individuals, but we can get clearance and educate you on the proper safe way to use them so as not to be able to harm other individuals. So we will use those primarily for communication. So No, we don't have anything to reverse your abilities. Rather, we have possible workarounds to communication that will allow you to communicate without needing to interact with any normal electronic devices such as phones, computers, etc. We would provide you with a workaround or a interpreter. Well, it seems you show up on camera just fine. It is just to make any auditory noises. Right. In some ways, you are more ghostly than a spectral spirit or apparition, even. My deepest apologies. I am sorry. That was intended as a compliment. My apologies for comparing you to a ghost. That is in no way a discriminatory remark. In fact, that is a complimentary attribute of your skills and abilities. It was not intended as a dig or insult or jab at your character. In fact, it was highlighting the capabilities and strong points that you present as a candidate for the field agent position here. Now, to wrap up this interview, before I say something that I regret, I have a few rapid fire deal breakers. So, for the purposes of these, I don't think you need to write them down. If you would just please nod or shake your head as I answer these questions, as I ask these questions and you answer them. Can you pass a background check, both federal and state? Can you pass a drug test? We do regular random drug screen testing at a federal level. That does include marijuana. Can you pass a physical and psychiatric test? They are similar to military requirements. Can you use a forklift? Do you have any tattoos or piercings that you would not be willing to remove or have removed? Do you have any concerns with any of the following? Arachnophobia, heights, enclosed spaces, bright lights, being in total darkness, strobing light effects, loud noises? Do you have any motion sicknesses? Any concerns with being frozen or placed in a cryostasis chamber? And do you have any concerns regarding avian-type creatures? Good. Do you have any concerns with things that you do not think exist? Do you have any concerns with being lost in time and space? Do you have any concerns with any issues with space travel? And do you have any issues regarding dimensional disorders or paranormal abnormalities and temporal continuity collisions of an echoing oblivion that distorts cognitive cohesion of events? Good. All right. Any last minute questions that you have for me? That is classified. That is restricted and confidential information. That is also classified and irrelevant to this position. Thank you for your time. If you don't mind, please leave a comment with the front desk. And after doing that, don't forget to hit the bell on the way out of the building. Yes, I know it won't ring for us and you won't hear it, but it's a useful thing. Don't worry about hearing back from us. If you are accepted for this position, we will find you and bring you in. If you are not accepted, do not worry. We will do our best to get you out of the care of the scientific institution and experimentation lab that you are currently presiding and working with. Thank you for your time. Have a good day and